Well, I just learned some really interesting stuff about the physics and the tuning and the handling in the Crew Motorfest that I think you're going to find really interesting. If you want to have a lot of fun in the game by sort of zipping through traffic or being fast in races, this should be super helpful. I'm going to start off here with the Supra Liberty Walk Edition. I'm going to basically reduce a lot of the downforce and grip on the rear of the car. So you can imagine that the rear of the car is going to be a little bit lifted and it's not going to grip in as much. And interestingly, this is going to turn this Supra into a especially rubbish car with this tuning setup, because it's going to have a really sluggish initial turn-in, but then it's going to immediately snap into oversteer as there's just no grip on the rear tyres. So it's literally the worst of both worlds. And I'm going to show you how almost impossible this is to drive, which is really interesting because a lot of cars might be set up like this anyway. You might need to tune them to make them better. So you can see there just how slow it was on the initial turn-in, how quickly we went into the oversteer. And you see the smoke coming from the tyres. Left turn here. Have a look here. Really sluggish. And then we go immediately and we end up chewing up the rear tyres. If you've already driven competitively in the Crew Motorfest, you'll know just how much counter-steering loses you momentum and time. It really is the killer to driving fast. You do not want to be counter-steering that much. You want to be gently arcing through corners. You want to be opening up the corners, getting on the brake, hitting the apex, and managing a little bit of understeer ideally on the exit, because if you're going to be managing oversteer on the exit, you're just going to be counter-steering and losing momentum. I'm going to show you here now. We're going to try and get through some traffic and just how difficult that combination makes it, because I feel like I'm having delayed reactions because of the sluggish turn-in. But then when the car actually does turn in, I'm going to get that oversteer. So you can see here, it's like I'm almost, turning in treacle. You have a look at, and then we just, we hit the car. So I'm going to tune this properly now. I'm just going to make some very small amendments for this car. Again, we're going to be in the Supra. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to restore all of that grip to the rear. We know we've got a massive wang on this car anyway. Going to reduce a little bit on the front. So I'm actually going to keep that back end nice and planted now. And just to induce a little bit of turn-in, I'm actually going to play around with the anti-roll bars. You can read the guidance it gives you down there, such as reducing the front, reduce understeer, and reducing the rear reduces oversteer. By the way, I have a tuning guide on my website, sim.doctor. So do go check that out for free if you want to know how to tune. It's all the details in there. And now I'm going to take the car out again, and it's going to be a completely different beast. It's not the finished article, but look how predictable this is going to be as a platform. You can see me already testing it now, and we're not having those oversteering moments. It's a lot more understeering now. I'd say it's probably about 15% too much understeering over what I would consider like an optimal neutral. But because the Crew Motorfest does not reward you for drifting, it does not reward you in a speed sense for counter steering. You can't balance it. There's no real slip angle in the Crew Motorfest. I'd rather be on the understeery side and just manage that with my lines. So we'll zip through some traffic here, and then we'll find a twisty road on the right. But you can already see it's a completely different kettle of fish. And I'm surprised in this game that they've made the tuning so in-depth actually, because I just feel like the vast majority, I say 99% of players are probably not going to touch it. If you're watching this video now, you're probably in that 1% who want to tune, know how to tune, because you're the informed subscribers on this channel. You're the most informed racer in the world, right? But have a look here as we go up this mountain. You're going to see me getting to grips with the understeer. That just means that I need to brake a little bit earlier and accelerate through the corners. But as a platform, this car is now significantly better. I would say it's like 80% better than what we saw before. It was undrivable before, and now I just have to think about the understeer. Very planted through here. Brake, see braking a bit earlier, anticipating that understeer. See having a few bites of cherry. That's a lot easier on a wheel, by the way. I was using a pad for this review of the gameplay here. But when I've been using a wheel, it's incredibly precise on my Planetec CSL. See here that we've hit that understeer and we almost actually go into the back of the truck. So that was a different tune here. I just want to let you know, by the way, sometimes understeer can just be because you're driving too damn fast. So this might look like understeer, but we were just approaching that corner so fast, and because it was a little bit blind, we couldn't really brake in time. Now I went to a BMW M4 competition, and threw a little tune in it. And this car is an absolute delight to drive. If you can drive something like this in the Crew Motorfest, nicely tuned, for me, it's one of the most enjoyable experiences in gaming. Look, I love driving around in BeamNG, for example, where everything is brutally realistic. This is not going to be brutally realistic, but this to me is more fun in free roam than BeamNG, which is pretty cool. Absolutely loving it as we're zipping through that traffic until I see a limousine at the last moment and I end up crashing. I do want to show you here, there is some work for me to do on this tune. You'll probably recognize this a lot if you're playing the Crew Motorfest, which is when you're going through some very twisty stuff and you have to apply a lot of steering angle, you can end up basically scrubbing off so much speed, and when you get on the power, it just chews you out. And that's exactly, I think, what's going to happen here. Look, yeah, we got into that and then we got chewed out. Now I want to show you some examples of poor mismatch of cars and terrain. Don't do this if you're driving in the Crew. Really important if you're doing the Grand Race, stuff like that. Choose your right cars, because the Grand Race can go over multiple terrains. You can see the map before you have to lock in your car choice. But for example here, this Porsche 911 is a terrible... It's really understeering. You can see it's understeering because I end up going through apexes and understeering on the other side. So you can see here we just sort of understeer, and end up having some sort of Indiana Jones moment on the bridge. Oh my word. End up surviving. This car is just really not set up correctly for this loose stuff. It doesn't really have the right gearing, which you can change in terms of the ratio to just sort of accelerate out in the torque band after we're applying a lot of steering lock. But I'm going to show you I think it's a Porsche 959 Rally Raid Edition. That is going to be a lot better handle. But you see here, we're just understeering from side to side, not the best car. Now we go into the 959 and have a look at how much better this is on this surface. So no longer are we really sort of understeering. We're actually managing a nice amount here of oversteer. We don't care too much about, you know, going into oversteering moments because we're on loose stuff. So if we're on tarmac, it'd be a different manner. But you can see here, this is an absolute joy to drive, by the way. This is a lot of fun. This is akin to being in a proper rally game. The physics here for me are miles better than Gran Turismo, for example, on loose surfaces, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. But I want to emphasize that point that the Crew is such a massive game. People are going to be playing it for years. If you do buy a copy, and by the way, I'm not affiliated with the Crew. I don't make any money whether you buy it or not. I'm enjoying playing the game at the moment. If you do buy it, you are going to get a lot of value out of it with 600 cars and a really exciting and diverse map in Hawaii to drive on. But choose the right car for the right terrain, otherwise you just might get frustrated and might think, hang on, this isn't a lot of fun. We're going to go now from the Porsche, from the dirt onto the tarmac, and you'll see that actually now the car goes a little bit out of its comfort zone because we don't really want to be having so much movement. You can see there through that corner, we'd rather have it planted. So again, if you want to have the best possible driving experience on every possible surface, then have a library of cars that are tuned and that you can swap into as you go around. And maybe more importantly, you can choose the right car for the races. And maybe most important of all, if you're a grand race fanatic, then because you'll see that map before you lock in the cars, if you've got an arsenal of amazing cars, you can get some really good results there. Now please do subscribe, by the way, if you want to see more Crew. I would love to have you on board. Let me know in the comments you got in the question. Oh, I did that wrong way around. My bad. I'll see you next time.